Muhammed Lawal, King Mo. It's a big name. You were Strikeforce light heavyweight champion. Ryzen 15, you were the tournament champion there. You fought anywhere from 190 to up to 218 pounds. More than 30 professional fights. How's your body holding up?
The body's holding up all right. You know, I have a few nagging injuries, a few limitations, but I feel better than I felt when I was fighting. I'll tell
Really?
you that.
Well, yeah. Well, even though that was your peak, you fixed a lot of the problems, and you're not aggravating them anymore, right?
Yeah, I'm not aggravating him. I feel like I'm smarter, but with what I do, I'm not doing as much high impact. I'm not doing any high impact stuff really. I'm focusing on cardio, doing some weights, but everything I'm doing now is more based towards like aesthetics.
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 43.
43. What do you weigh?
Right now, I weigh 203.
You feel good? That's a good weight.
Yeah, for a while I had a hard time putting weight on, because I have hyperthyroid. So my thyroid's hyperactive, so I had to eat more, and now I figured out ways to, what to eat, and I figure, I have to take in more starches, and I'm anemic, so I have to eat,
Iron.
I have to take in beef liver and chicken liver once a week. So
You eat it, or you take it in capsules?
I eat it.
You like it?
Yeah, it's good. I like, liver and onions.
You like that?
Yeah.
Tough guy. How's your hip? I saw a picture of an x-ray on the internet of your hip. It's scary looking.
Yeah, the hip is bionic. It's titanium steel. I had that done, I think, in 2018, 17, 18. The year WrestleMania when Goldberg beat Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
I had it done that year, so I think it was a while ago.
What's interesting is that maybe you're not the best at counting years, but you remember them with fights and, right, big promotions.
Wrestling matches, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Speaking of wrestling, you were a champion, a state champion in high school in wrestling, right?
Yeah, I was.
In Texas?
Yep, Texas.
I read that your junior year, I think you were like the second best in the state, and your senior year, you were number one. Is that?
Yeah. I was one of the best. Like in my weight class, I was the best. In the state, I was one of the best because we had other talented wrestlers, within the state.
That's a big state,
Yeah,
Texas.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's where you grew up, huh?
Yeah, well, I lived all over the place, but my formative years were in like the years that made me who I was, pretty much, defined who I am. Were in Texas.
Yeah. Where in Texas?
Plano, Texas.
Plano.
Yeah.
Is that outside of Dallas?
Yeah, right outside of Dallas, off of 75.
What was your upbringing like?
My dad wasn't around. Raised by my mom, single mother. She's Nigerian. So is my dad. So they came to America, came to the South and lived in the South, and they were Muslims, and people kind of looked at them differently.
Yeah, in the South,
Yeah.
of all places. They could have gone anywhere else.
Yeah, they went to Tennessee.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were born there?
Yep. I was born in Tennessee.
Any memories of Tennessee or just Texas?
Nah, no memories really. I have some, but nothing like concrete.
Yeah.
It's like we lived in Kentucky as well, so we went back and forth between Eastern Kentucky, Richmond, Kentucky, which is like it's nothing out there.
Yeah.
And then we were in not outside Nashville. We were in Murfreesboro.
Oh, yeah.
So we were back and forth between them two places.
Why were you guys moving so much?
My mom was going to school trying to become a nurse, and then my dad at the time, like, he was around until I was like in second grade. So he was a geologist, I believe. I didn't know much about him because he was really never around that much.
You have a relationship with him now or no?
Nah, he's dead. He committed suicide when I was like 20.
Oh, so you had something going on there, huh?
Yeah. He had a lot of pain issues, and I think some mental health issues too. So
When you were a little kid and he wasn't around, what was that like?
it was actually better because when he was around, he was abusive. There were times that I remember one time he beat me real bad, and I went to school, and the teacher said something. Then child services got involved, and then they came to the conclusions that I couldn't be with my dad or be around him when I won because like he was in a high stress situation. So I'd go straight from school to the YMCA because they had a daycare.
Yeah.
So I stayed there till my mom would get home, and then I just do my thing.
And so the last time, scoot it up a little bit, just
Right.
move it to you if you want, stay comfortable.
Right.
The last time you saw him was second grade, or did he show up after that anymore?
Last time I saw him after that was I think I was like in sixth grade, and I saw him for the summer.
Wow.
Well, about a month, maybe 3 weeks in the summer. Yeah.
You ever go to Nigeria?
I've never been. I plan on going in December.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Lagos.
Yeah, Lagos.
Yeah. That's a big country. A lot of people, man. I think it's like if I guess correctly, 220 million or something. It's a big country.
It's the most populated country in Africa, and Lagos is the largest capital.
Yeah.
City in Africa.
You're going to be blown away. I've only seen pictures and videos, but man, it's a lot of people.
Yeah. It seems overpopulated from the pictures I've seen.
Yeah.
And my mom went this past fall with my brother, so they sent back some pictures. So it was pretty, mind blowing what I saw. But I'm looking forward to going down there and visiting my homeland.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because your life could have been like that, and it took a totally different direction.
Yep.
You ever think about that?
You know what? Like, it's crazy because there's so many possibilities. Every decision you make can change your life. So, I try to think about it, but then there's so many decisions my mom or my dad could have made that I could have not been here.
That's right.
So, yeah, it's kind of mind-boggling, when you think about the possibilities that could have happened. Because, anything, it could have been like 1 or 2 steps to the left or the right, and they could have met somebody else, and I could have never existed. So.
That's right. Oh, there's a million directions everything can go in your own life. So anything in your, I asked you before we started recording, because I knew you were raised basically by a single mom. And when boys are raised by single moms, there's a higher percentage of getting in trouble by the law. And you completely avoided that, huh?
Yeah, I never got in trouble.
How about in school?
A little bit, yeah. I got in trouble in school here and there, but I got suspended a few times, but more in school because my mom was a single parent, so they allowed me to stay in school for suspension. But I wasn't that bad of a kid, really. Honestly, I was kind of just I had no direction until I found wrestling.
And that was high school, middle school. When was that?
When I was 16.
And is it because of the sport itself or the coaches? What changed for you?
The sport itself, because I always liked combat, and it was either that or trying to box. And my wrestling coach told me that wrestling could get me to college. So he said, just follow his plan, and I get a scholarship.
Did you get that scholarship?
Yeah, I got a scholarship. Yeah, got a scholarship to Central Oklahoma, and that's a good. When I got there, I think we won nationals. I think 2-3 years in a row. We took second. I don't know because it's so long ago, but I know we did a bunch of winning. We won a lot.
And then you transferred out.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
To Oklahoma State.
Big school.
Yeah, and we did a bunch of winning there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we were national champions. We were undefeated. We won everything. It was never close.
What a feeling.
Yeah.
Winning that much.
Yeah.
So when you were a kid, did you get in fights?
When I was a kid, not really. Nah, not really.
What do you think's different when you were growing up to kids today?
The access to information and who's providing the information and social media. Because I could tell a story about how I got into a fight, and I could say I won or lost. It's a story. And it just remains a story, and people can embellish or change it. But now, if you're a kid in modern time, you get into a fight and you get embarrassed, it's forever on the internet.
Yeah. And every kid is the cameraman.
And every kid's the cameraman, and you can never really, you'll go viral. You could go viral in a bad way.
Yeah.
That could lead to more depression, and, it can never really be scrubbed.
That's right. It's everywhere.
That's why a lot of kids rather shoot somebody or stab somebody than risking beat up in a fist fight.
Wow. Way bigger consequences.
Yeah, way bigger consequences, but at the same time, like, it's the same scenario. Either one way, you're in jail mentally from depression, or you're in jail locked up physically and dealing with depression.
Yeah.
So
that's a good way to see it. You ever see comments about you? And I'm not saying they're out there, but everybody who builds a name for himself like you have, there's always haters online. You ever see any comments about you on the internet?
Yeah, I've seen them in the past, but like, I'm not fighting no more. So like, when I was fighting, that was just a job. It was a period in my life where I competed, and that period comes and goes. So people can have their opinions because everybody has their opinions. I have my opinions, but when it comes down to it, what's done is done, or what's going to happen is going to happen. So, all we can do is sit back and watch, or sit back, listen, or sit back and ignore it.
Yeah. Seems like you probably ignored most of the haters.
After a while, at first, I didn't.
It got under your skin at first?
Well, I didn't know any better because, like, I feel like when you have a father, I feel like sometimes, like, or they competed, you can live off their experience, and they could kind of tell you, hey, leave them alone, because you're going off their experience. But like, everything I did was just, I was the first one in my family to do it. Like, no one ever really wrestled. No one pro wrestled. No one did MMA. It was just me. So
you're your own pioneer.
Yeah, pretty much. So everything was trial and error, and I had no one to really bounce things off of.
So your mom was busy trying to become a nurse and working and doing all that.
Full time. Yeah, she's a mother. She's a mother of 3.
So there's 3 of you?
Yeah.
And how involved could she be in your life when you were a kid growing up?
She tried to be, but she's working. She's a nurse. She's going to school. She attended, like, I think about 3 of my football games. No, 2 football games, because I remember. And she went to 3 wrestling matches. So,
did that hurt?
Nah, because I know
you understood.
Understood,
Yeah.
Like, when I won state by myself because she was working. So when I won nationals, she was working.
Wow.
So I couldn't fault her because she had to pay the bills. So I had to do what I had to do, and that just comes from self-motivation. And I use my mom as the measuring stick in a sense.
There's people out there whose parents give them a brand new Ford when they're 16 years old, and now they're seeing a psychologist because the parents didn't buy them a BMW. You, on the contrary, you're winning a national championship. Your mom couldn't be there for obvious reasons, and you understand. What's the difference? How these guys, are they weak?
I wouldn't say they're weak. I say they're pampered. Because, like, pampered, and they probably haven't experienced too much in life. They haven't faced adversity, or they might have, but it's just a different level, because everybody at some point faces some type of adversity. It just depends on the level and the consequences that adversity brings.
Yeah.
So the people that are kind of well, you know what? I would say that they're pampered, they're soft. I wouldn't necessarily say they're weak, because when it comes down to it, when you're put in a mode to survive, you're going to go out there and try to survive. If I threw somebody in the pool that couldn't swim, they're going to flail their arms and try to swim until they drown, because that's the human instinct. That's survival.
That's right.
So, like, I wouldn't say they're soft. Not soft, but I wouldn't say they're weak. I'd say they're pampered.
They haven't been tested.
And they've been soft. They've probably been tested at some point, but not at the level that brings high consequences.
Yeah. Simple tests.
Yeah.
Some kids are on antidepressant medication and a lot of these things. And when you hear their problems, I don't think they're that big of a problem. And I don't think when we were younger that there were so many kids on antidepressants. Maybe it's because they haven't been put through the grinder, right? They haven't been put through a challenge.
You know what? Like, I think there are some kids. There are some kids that probably have like depression problems because they probably grew up, or probably it could be genetic,
chemical problem.
Chemical, yeah. But then at the same time, I feel like some of these doctors might be their workload might be so overloaded or so high that they might just have 4 symptoms and they might box them all together and they realize, hey, those 4 symptoms mean, and they don't look at the actual scenario or the situation that those people are actually in, the kids are actually in.
Yeah, it's the easy button and give them a prescription.
It's easy button, yeah, because sometimes like somebody need, the children or the people that are dealing with depression might need someone to talk to. Yeah. That could be it, or somebody to just like be around. There's some companionship.
Yep.
Because it's hard to be depressed when you're with a group of people.
Yeah, if they're good friends.
Yeah.
If you're on a wrestling team working that hard. Yeah, hard to be depressed when
with
you're
like-minded
working.
people.
Yeah, all working hard. I always think, and I wrestled 4th grade and 8th grade just a little bit. Those were the hardest workouts I've ever done, and I played a little bit of football. I played baseball for years. That's a different breed of kid, right? A wrestler?
You know what? I'd say anyone that takes a combat sport serious at that age, it is a different type of animal because, no one wants to get headlocked or pinned. Nobody wants to get armbarred or choked. No one wants to get kicked in the head, or kicked period in the stomach, or in the leg. But the combat athletes risk that, and they risk embarrassment.
Yeah. So what kept you going, and what keeps maybe typical wrestlers or whatever, what was it for you that kept you that motivated? Was getting a college scholarship that big a deal at 16 years old? You were thinking that far ahead?
At 16, I was like, what's the best thing I could be, coach? And my coach said be an Olympic champion. So I was like, all right, that's the goal, to be an Olympic champion. Like, I came close, but
I think you were a fight away from it.
Well, I actually defeated the Olympic champion that year. I defeated a few champions, but I just got upset at the Olympic trials, which was kind of, it was kind of a sour subject because I felt like I got cheated.
Was that Sazador?
No, that was the world championships for Sajidov. Now, they cheated me on that match because they gave him a mystery point with like
passivity.
Yeah,
they accused you of sitting still.
But I took him down,
and I think the biggest thing to point out there is there was a second left.
Yeah, it was 1 second left. They gave him the point,
and you were winning.
Yeah,
man. So let me ask you about that. That's one time I think you were cheated. Another one that I read both sides about it. I don't know, I'm really interested in hearing what you think, but it seems like you were wronged by Strikeforce for some comments. Because when I read their side of it at first, I thought, well, you shouldn't have done that. But when I read your side of it, I go, okay, now I see you were wronged. Maybe it was just your reaction that caused the problem. But so you've been wronged a few times. Maybe there's more. How would you handle those situations differently today?
A lot differently, I guess, but at the same time, like, now that I know the consequences, but I still do have a issue with anger sometimes. Like, if it's not that I'll go crazy, but sometimes I just don't bite my tongue. If I see something I don't like and it's in my face, I'm gonna say something. I just can't sit there, Even like when I'm coaching, if you're doing something like kind of like against the strategy or kind of like, inefficient or wrong tactically, I'm going to try to go out there and kind of like hint to you like, hey, there's a other option. There's a better way.
But today, at 43 years old, you're going to do that from a place of more wisdom.
Yeah, definitely.
At 25, you don't have that same experience in your life.
Nah. And the crazy thing is, every year you think you know stuff. And then 5 years later, you realize you know nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it means you got a little bit smarter, because when you can look back and say, I knew nothing back then, that means you know a little bit more as time goes on.
Well, the thing is, if you're living life, every day you should know a little more. Every day you're living, if you're around people and you're in an environment that has living organisms and moving water, every day you should actually be learning something and become smarter.
What's it mean for you to be a man?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because I was never raised by a man. I like, all my cousins were raised like me by women. So like, all my coaches are men, but my coaches, when I think about it, back then I thought they cared about me. And they might have, but I think they cared about the result that I brought them, because it helped their family. So when you think about it, like, they care about you because you're helping their family, which is cool, but you're not really their family, because once you're done, they're on to the next.
Did you see any drop off in relationships when you were done fighting?
Yeah, but that's with every anytime you compete and you're done, relationships drop off, but then new ones appear. So it's not like I'm still friendly and I'm still friends with people, but I don't, we don't have to talk as much. But when I see you, we'll speak or we'll reconnect. But like, sometimes, as you get older, more and more things pop up in your life, and you take and new things take priority. And it's not, and I'm not saying that my friends or my associates or my acquaintances they're not like genuine or and they're not like they're not important, because they are important people. But I have things in my life that I have to deal with, and they have things in their life they got to deal with as well. So I understand if I don't hear from them as much.
Of course. I've got friends across the country that I don't talk to maybe for a year or two, but when we talk, it's nice and we rekindle, and that's great. But you can't be in each other's life every day. You got things going on. You got kids.
Yep.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I got 3 girls. Yeah.
And what's it mean for a guy who didn't have a father to have 3 girls? Anything, what comes from that?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I'm still learning, because like, I didn't have a father, so like, I didn't know it. He was never around. He didn't pay child support. He didn't know anything I did, so he was never involved. So he was like, when he died, I was at his funeral, and they asked me to speak, and I said no, because what could I say about him? Like, I didn't know him. He didn't know me. All the pictures he had of me were he had like maybe 5 pictures of me, and I was like 5 or 6 years old. He had nothing recent. He knew nothing of me. So,
you mentioned anger issues earlier. Very common for men, right? Do you think any of that was anger that your dad wasn't around?
Well, I don't know. I think there's a multitude of things, because I watched him beat my mom up, and then he was crazy, man. Like, now that I think about it, like, one story I'll never forget. He used to call my mama's house, call our house, and we had a voicemail, and he always call like after 7 or 8, just at random times. So we knew, like, if it's after 7 or 8, it's probably him. So I don't answer the phone. And one day he called, left a message that said, "Your mom has AIDS and she's gonna die." And I was like, "What the hell is AIDS?" I'm like, "What?" So I went to school, and mind you, I'm in Kentucky. So I go to my friend Jay Mont, and I'm like, "Jay Mont, man, I think my mama's gonna die." And he's like, "Why? I was like, "Man, my dad said she has AIDS." And he's like, "Man, nah, that's something that gays get." This is back in the 80s. So I was like, "What do you mean?" I didn't know what a gay. He's like, "Yeah, it's gay." He's like, "Yes, something a gay gets." And I'm like, "What's that?" And he's like, "I don't know, it's something dirty. So if you touch pigeons, you might get AIDS." I was like, "So my mama touched a pigeon?" I'm like, I didn't know, but it's crazy when you're young, because now that I'm older, I'm like, man, my dad was crazy, because I'm like, he told. And the thing is, I was like, I started worrying. So like, I go tell my teacher, I'm like, my mama touched a pigeon, a bird. I think she has AIDS, and then like they told, like, it was like kind of a messed up situation because like my dad was trying to mentally abuse us in a sense.
Yeah.
He was mentally abusive. So like,
Yeah.
like I remember my mom, like the day my mom told me that he was missing, and she was in the kitchen, and I was like, I bet you committed suicide. And she was like, don't say that. I'm like, man, I don't think he had no friends because we went to go visit him. He had no friends, and I don't know what he did. Like he was never really around. So I was like, man, like he probably committed suicide. Lo and behold, he hung himself in his house. So I didn't know him, but I knew the person he was.
Man, you got to wonder what's going on in someone's head to do those things, beat up your mom, not take care of you guys, and then hang himself. There's got to be a lot of monsters in his head.
Yeah. From what I remember about him, like there are a few things I took from him. Like he loved butter pecan ice cream. I hate that ice cream, but I like the ice cream because of him. He loved caramel popcorn. I like toffee popcorn. Mm-hmm. He loved boxing and combat sports. That's one thing I really took from him is the love for combat sports and because the thing about combat is like it doesn't always have to be physical. It can be spiritual. It can be mental. It can be physical. There are different ways of combat because we all battle something or we all fight something in different ways, in a daily fashion.
Do you know anything about your dad's upbringing?
Nah, you know what? It's crazy because there's a guy named Rahamon who just been reaching out to me, and come to find out, he's like my dad's nephew. So like I've been actually kind of in touch with my dad's side of the family. So I actually saw a picture of his sister. So
Is she in Nigeria or the U.S.?
Nigeria.
Would you ever do a DNA test like 23andMe or Ancestry?
I did.
You did. You find anything?
I'm 100% from Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Like my family, like my family never left Africa aside from my mom and my aunties and my uncles. They're the only ones that ever left. Oh, and they're the ones that left Africa. One went to Germany and the rest came to America.
But in the recent past is when they left.
Yeah, in the recent past.
Yeah, they haven't been here for generations.
Yeah, so nah, I'm a first generation American.
And you never, when you did that, I don't know if it's automatic when you do that, but they can connect you to cousins. And you ever find anything like that?
But they're like distant, like very distant cousins. Yeah. And the thing is, they're in the hubs of like Atlanta, Baltimore, Houston, Chicago, because those areas have a high Nigerian population. So a lot of these cousins, Lawals I see, and at the Remy's I see, like they're like distant cousins, but
Yeah, I did that. It's pretty interesting. I was born in Cuba, and all my ancestors I thought were from Spain, but I had like 8 or 9% African, and half of that or so was North Africa, but some was like Congo and like deep in Africa, which really surprised me to see that.
There are a lot of Nigerians. Like I can look at some Cuban. When I used to wrestle, I'd see the Cuban wrestling team, and I could be like Nigerian.
Right.
Same thing with Brazil. In Brazil, there's a place called the Bahia State, which is like pretty much a Nigerian hub. It's like a area. It's the place where a lot of the slaves were shipped to.
Right.
And a lot of those people are of my heritage, the Yoruba tribe. It's the tribe I'm from, Yoruba. Like me and Israel Adesanya, anytime you see ADE or OLA or OLU, that means they're from the Yoruba tribe in Nigeria.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Man, we learn new things every day. So you fought for a lot of years. You were going to do bare knuckle.
Yeah.
Got injured. Didn't go through with that. It's been a while since you fought. But you have not left that community, right? You're still in that. That's your world. That's your job. What have you been doing all these years?
Well, it's a good thing I didn't fight because that would have been stupid. Because at the time, I was bored and, it sounds good. But then when you start training, you feel good, but then like your body doesn't respond how it used to. So that was a good, like, yeah, whatever. That was dumb. But what's the question again?
You've been. Oh, and by the way, about that, if you're not feeling 100% to fight at that level, first of all, you shouldn't be fighting, because the other guy, if he's at 100%, you're screwed, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a high level. All right, so you've been in the sport, in combat sports, even after you retired as a fighter. What have you been doing all this time?
Oh yeah, so I did a bunch of. I was beekeeping. I still beekeep.
Really, on your own?
Yeah. And I run the apiary for the I'm part of the Rotary Club in Coral Springs, so I help with the apiary there. Got my real estate license. I still do some pro wrestling. I'm still coaching. I'm just around. I'm doing a bunch of different things to stay busy, because now that you're done fighting, I'm not training as much. Right. I'm still eating clean. I'm still working out, but my workout is more geared towards just looking good and feeling good, not towards like winning the title fight.
Yeah, that's different. Man, you're a renaissance man. You're doing all these things. I didn't expect you to say you were beekeeping.
Yeah, because I started beekeeping because I remember I was bored, and I just started. I'm a fruit guy, and I saw a thing on mangosteen, and I love mangosteens. But I saw a mangosteen called the achacha, so I was like, you know what? Let me order some achacha fruit. So I went to MiamiFruit.org and went and ordered me a bunch of different fruits, and all the fruits I liked, I just started growing. And then my friend said, "Hey, Mo, if you want to grow more fruit and yield more fruit, get you some bees."
Yep.
So I was stupid, because then I watched. I wasn't stupid, but I thought I was kind of like, I was stupid, because after 2 weeks of watching videos, I went and got me a colony. Then a week later, I got me another colony. Then I started catching colonies. So within my backyard, I had like 16. You can't even go in my backyard without getting stung.
Your neighbors must hate you.
Well, my neighbors started like helping me with the bees, because I started giving them honey. So
okay.
we were getting honey left and right, and then all of a sudden, like, a few bees absconded. They left. A few colonies died because of, when you have bees, you have to deal with like wax moths and varroa mites and other pests that might destroy their colony. Yeah. So I had so many colonies that I couldn't control them all, and a few left, a few died, and then all of a sudden, I realized that like I just got in too deep. So then I had like 4 remaining, and I moved those to the apiary with the Rotary Club.
Oh, but you must have pollinated the hell out of your neighborhood.
Yeah. And I caught me and my boy Ryan caught probably about 10 different colonies, if not more. Because for some reason the bees love the wild swarms love the trees in my backyard. So what we do is to get some sugar water, spray them down, and then just knock them in the box. Or we saw the limb down, because there are a few times like the bees were up in the tree.
Are you wearing a full bee suit?
A few times. Sometimes I would. Sometimes I wouldn't.
And that's when you get stung?
Yeah, I got stung quite a few times, but my first time, I thought, I'm like, if I'm smart, I wouldn't get stung. And then my beekeeping mentor, the 2 weeks I followed him, he wanted me to follow him and shadow him at this apiary, which I did. It was a small apiary, and it was around 4:00, and we were out there, and he stopped, and I'm like, "Why are you stopping?" He's like, "Yeah, it's about 5:30. All the bees coming home," and I'm like, "Okay, whatever. You're soft." All of a sudden, I got stung 4 times. Bam, bam, bam. Walked off. Came back, got stung a few more times. Bam, bam, bam. I'm like, all right, I'm done. So, like, hop in his car. We drive back to his property, and on his property, he has a bunch of bees colonies too. There's an apiary there too. And I didn't remove the stingers from the stings I took in earlier. So right when I get out, I'm walking to my car. I get destroyed by bees.
They can smell that?
Yeah, they can smell the pheromone, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man, it's bad.
So that warned the rest of them that you're danger.
Yeah, pretty much. Wow. I just got lit up. And
you got to remove those stingers.
Yeah, you have to remove those stingers and smoke them down, smoke yourself down with the smoke. But yeah, man, like I had some good experiences, met some cool people. I'm still in that world, not as deep, because like one thing about me, and I feel like this comes from me not having a father. is because like I'm so inexperienced that I feel like the only way I can catch up to people is to go all in. So everything I do, I'm OCD on everything I've done. Like I'll overdo it, and
Sounds like our producer Jeremy.
like I got into fermentation, so I made me a fruit like natural fruit soda. So I was making that, and all of a sudden I started making like I had like 10 barrels of it. I had like 60 pounds, 70 pounds of honey. I'm just doing. Anytime I got into a hobby, I just went overboard. In my backyard, I have about like 20 something trees. Wow. I was planting, and it's. I don't know. It's cool, but the thing is, when I get into a hobby, I go all in. Like
that's probably what made you a champion. You have to be obsessive, right?
Yeah, it's gotta be fish. I gotta find out what's worth being obsessive about.
Right.
Because like I'm not gonna lie, with the real estate thing, the first time I took the real estate test, I was kind of embarrassed because like I was like, man, I made it 57. I told everybody I made 67.
Well,
so then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give myself a month to understand this. So I went on my YouTube, and and on YouTube, all my hobby stuff. Like I had beekeeping, all this. I mean, I was following over 200 channels. So I unfollowed every channel and only followed the real estate ones that provided tests. And then like I started like following like prep exam and all these other schools that offer tests, and I started like becoming members of those groups, and then I started taking tests, taking 5 tests a day, 6 tests a day, and then next thing I know I'm making 90s on them. So then I was like, you know what? Let me see what I can do. So I started challenging myself, like how many questions I could ask without missing one. So I go like 92. So going tonight, I go 92 questions in a row without missing one. So then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm ready to take this test. And I was ready actually after like 3 weeks of like doing that technique with the YouTube channels.
Yeah, you're cramming it in, taking the test. That's the way to do it. I commend you, because if you don't do well at one thing, a lot of people quit, and they're not willing to make that change because maybe there's an enjoyable, fun thing, whether it's a YouTube video or Netflix or cable TV or anything else is dragging you down. You're able to cut that off right away to focus on what matters.
Yeah, yeah, because like you have to prioritize things sometimes. Yeah. Like you have to realize, you have to sit down and have a question, have a real conversation with yourself. Are these things holding me back? And are these things worth keeping around? Because now, as you get older, like you have to find a good balance. And I feel like sometimes, like with me being so obsessive with certain things, when I find something I like, I go all in. And I made so many mistakes doing that. So now I finally realize like a little goes a long way.
Finding your own balance. You ever get obsessive about like washing your hands or any OCD type things?
You know what? Nah. I go through phases because like I don't know. It's weird because I go through phases where I'm very, very clean, or I'm overly clean. But I don't know. I've never been OCD like that, but I've been OCD in other ways. But like I have a cousin that was very OCD. Like he followed a certain structure of everything, and if you touched him, he'd have to touch you last.
Wow.
So I'd touch him and run off. He chased me down and touched me back. But like the OCD thing, like I'm not sure if it's genetic. I'm not sure if it's like environmental or if it's an even mixture of both. But I think a lot of it could come from like just like your experiences and what you've been through growing up.
Yeah. Who knows? I don't know either if it's genetic or your experience or a combination. You're right. You know what? We've talked on the phone a couple times, but I never met you in person. I got to tell you, I'm impressed for somebody who has fought all his life, and you've hit a lot of people really hard. There's a lot of videos out there, but you've been hit too because it goes with the sport.
Yep,
you're a smart guy, man. I like the way you think and your very clear way of putting these thoughts together. I'm really impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what have you been doing as far as the fight scene, training guys, cornering? What have you been doing these last few years?
Training guys and women. I have a champion, LFA champion, Natalia Kuzinatina. She's defended her belt once. She won it from Gigi, some girl named Gigi. I forgot, but she's a beast. And Gigi was undefeated and the favorite to win. And we went in there in Vegas and upset her last year. And then we beat Bruna Ellen, who was like the favorite to beat us. And she just was offered a fight last night. I'm not sure of the date, but if she wins this fight, I feel like she should be ready to go to the UFC.
Wow.
I think she's ready right now. And I think that if she were to get there, within a year or two, if they can move it right, she could be a contender.
Wow.
She's strong. Like, I had the hand fight with her one time, and it's crazy because I coach other girls other ladies, other women, and I'm watching them spar with her and I'm watching them wrestle with her. I'm like, hey, do this. And like, I'm trying. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not trying hard enough. I'm like, do it. I'm like, just do it. And like, I'm trying. I'm like, oh, these girls are soft. They're soft. Then I'm in, I'm in Colorado? Not Colorado. I'm in Vegas. Was it Vegas? I forgot what city I'm in, but yeah, I'm in New York. Upstate New York. And Artem was like, hey, Coach Mo, I'm going to hold pads for her, but can you hand fight with her? And I'm like, yeah, man, she's small. She's 115 pounds. I'm like, I'm going to go easy on her. When she grabbed me, I was like, wow. So I was like, I'm going to go easy. She almost threw me, so I'm like, hold on. I'm going to go about 15%. She almost threw me again, so I'm like, hell no.
You had to ratchet up.
I had to actually like pick her up and like to protect myself because like she was going to hurt me. You know,
wow,
and
she's a freak of nature.
She's a beast.
What's her name again?
Natalia Kuzatina.
Russian?
Yeah, right, Russian.
Yeah, those people are special. They Russians are tough. When I was a kid in middle school, I wrestled in our school against a kid, just in practice, and he was 2 years younger than me and probably weighed, 20 pounds less. I couldn't handle him. The kid was so strong. I didn't understand it, and I just chalked it up to, well, I guess Russians are different. Pretty strong kids. So American Top Team is where you're still coaching?
Yeah, I'm at ATT, American Top Team still.
Coconut Creek, Florida?
Yep, Coconut Creek, Florida, the headquarters.
That's the headquarters because they're all over the country, right?
Yeah, we have chains. They're American Top Team chains all over the world, actually. But there's one headquarters, and that's in Coconut Creek, Florida. And
the people who train there, there's no hobbyists? There's no people there for fun? These are all fighters that are there to build a career?
Everyone there besides one person, aside from one person, and that person is making their pro debut soon. So it's a pros-only gym, no hobbyists, unless you feel like being a sparring partner.
Oof.
And I'm not sure many hobbyists want to be a sparring partner for a pro MMA fighter that's in shape.
What's the difference? I find this amazing. I occasionally you'll find some YouTube videos on fans of MMA who talk trash, and then they get invited, come down to my gym. It's so fun to watch how I don't think the average fan who just watches and doesn't even train anything understands the level of competition, right?
Well, they don't understand the level because a lot of people didn't grow up fighting or competing in combat sports. A lot of people grew up playing football, basketball, baseball, softball, track, volleyball, the mainstay sports in high school. So people can relate to that. You'll see far more comments on that make sense, like technical and tactical comments that make sense, like, hey, he didn't hit the hole, or hey, when he made the tackle, his head went down, and he didn't catch the ball with his hands. Yeah, that's everyone experienced that because we all played those sports, or we all had experience with those sports coming up. But when it comes to combat sports, that's a whole different animal because there are not many people that want to go out there and like test their hands or test their wrestling, test their chin, or test their skills physically like that. It takes a select few.
Well, what does Mike Tyson say? Everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the
mouth. Everyone has a plan until they get hit.
Yeah, they get hit. It's something else, man. They get popped hard.
Yeah, or just honestly, everyone has a plan until the bell rings. Because it's like this, right? Like, yeah, it's easy to look tough hitting pads. It's easy to look tough in training camp. It's easy to look tough at weigh-ins. It's easy to look tough after weigh-ins doing an interview. It's easy to look tough doing the warm-up. It's easy to look tough walking to the ring. It's easy to look tough in the ring. But once that cage locks and your corner's outside the cage and you're in there by yourself and you see the cameras on the cage wall and you see the referee right there and realize you're in a video and it's a live video game. Like, it's a real life video game out there. So, that's when you have to be tough because, you have to follow through. You have to follow through. Anybody can be like, I'm going to do something. But the follow through is what's the most important thing. So once you follow through, then you have to prove that you're tough. And look, in my opinion, just by making it there, you're tough enough. But once you're in there, you have to prove something to yourself. And that's the true battle.
Yeah. And you're right. It's such, we've all played all those other sports, but hardly anyone in the Earth's population has been in that high stakes game.
Nah, just a fist fight.
Yep.
Think about this. A typical fist fight might last 1 or 2 punches. A long fist fight lasts about 30 seconds. It's a long one.
Yep.
But then, like, in MMA or in combat sports, 3 to 5 minutes is a long period to stand in front of somebody that's trained to beat you up, just like you're trained to beat them up.
Yeah.
They learn defense just like you learn defense. They have a game plan just like you have a game plan.
They got coaches.
Yep. So like that's when things that's the true battle right there.
Yeah, that's high level. So what are the finances of fighting? I don't know this. I don't, belong to that world. I train jiu-jitsu. That's it. These guys who are training in your academy, you don't have to get into specifics of any person, but there's a deal. Do you get a percentage of what they earn?
No, the gym gets a percentage of the fighter's purse or whatever the agreement they came upon, But from what I understand, there's a percentage they pay to the gym, and then the gym handles whatever that. And I get paid from the gym.
From the gym, you're an employee of the gym. Yeah. Interesting. Who's the next person out of top team that you think we'll hear about and we'll see? And is there someone, not in the UFC, but is it the girl that you mentioned, the Russian girl?
Man, like, if you come to American Top Team, you open your eyes and be like, man, they all should be in the UFC, or they all should be in here, or they're all going to be the next big thing. Everyone, Mauricio Gomez, Jiu-Jitsu world champion. J.J. Wilson, he's a stud. I've been working with him for a while. Biggie Boy, he's been doing his thing for a while. Renan Ferreira is fighting Francis Ngannou, in the PFL show in Riyadh. I think it's in Riyadh or Saudi Arabia. We have Johnny Eblen, who's the man. Like, we have so many good fighters that are going to be something, and they already are just about there. They're literally about 1 or 2 fights from being there, but the list is long at the American Top Team.
Yeah. Years ago, I met Michael Chandler. We did this 3 or 4 day training event in Los Angeles. And at the time, he was Bellator champion and about to start in the UFC. And I said, wow, is that going to be a big payday difference? And he says, no, I made more in Bellator because I guess he could have a bunch of sponsors and wear their stuff. Yeah. Is there a step down when these guys are sponsored somewhere else and then they get in the UFC? You're not wearing their stuff, right?
It just depends on the management you have and who you are. Because, like, the UFC has a great PR machine behind them. Yeah. And if you're a good fighter and you're winning, you're going to be marketed indirectly by them. And then whatever deal your management gets, that's a plus. And whatever deals you can get locally, that's a plus. So, like, just I don't know. There's so many ways to generate some revenue as a fighter or an up-and-coming fighter. But the thing is, to get to the actual real money, it's the gauntlet. That's what you're fighting for.
And there's probably only a few up there making that real money in the millions.
Yeah.
There's something like George Pirro. He's the guy who does. I spoke to him recently. He was a former head of the FBI here in South Florida. He does the anti-doping for the UFC.
Yeah.
And I think he told me there's 600 and something fighters in the UFC. It's a big number.
Yeah.
Something like that, if I remember correctly. What does the average guy make? You have an idea?
I'm not sure because, like, there's a wide range of the typical fighter when they first get in might get 10 and 10. 10,000 show, 10,000 to win. But let's say the typical fighter that comes in is a big name from a different country and they have a following already, then the deal might be different. Yeah. So,
but it's not a lot in those first fights, huh?
Well, it depends on where you're from and who you are, because let's say you're from India or Pakistan or China and you have a big following and you're a champion at a bunch of regional organizations there and they want to break into that market. Of course, going to offer you more money because you could be the face for them.
Yeah, that's interesting. What an opportunity for those guys to break in hard on that. All right, so you're going to practice real estate. You want to invest in it. What are you going to do with that?
Honestly, I think I'm gonna be a real estate agent, really a realtor. But at the same time, like I'm just learning about it. Really, I passed the test. You have residential, which everybody's doing. You have commercial, which takes some time. You have agricultural, which most of the agricultural stuff in Florida takes place in northern Florida. Different soil, better soil. Because the soil down here, I know from
sand.
It's sand. I know from just being a backyard,
farmer.
Yeah. But so I'm not sure how being in the agricultural world would be effective in South Florida, but I'm pretty sure that someone down here that can make it work or that is making it work, they have some good resources. But I just don't. I'm still learning because, right now, from what I see, the housing market is kind of slowed down.
Oh yeah.
But then the Fed cut the interest rate by a point, half a point. So they said that
waking it up a little bit.
Yeah, waking it up a little bit. But at the same time, we are in South Florida, and it's been like this for since probably a little before COVID, maybe or right around COVID. So inventory is kind of low, and that's the whole South. Even in Texas, inventory is kind of low. So I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I think maybe after the election, things might shake up.
Yeah, people might start spending again and feel confident. Yeah, there's always a hold on that. Yeah, we got bombarded here with New Yorkers, Chicago, Californians in South Florida. We saw the license plates every day, right? They were here during the beginning of COVID.
Yeah, it was a blessing and a curse because, we did stay open, but then at the same time, everyone moved down here.
Yeah,
and then prices really didn't drop. Prices stayed up.
Yeah.
Even the housing market. I had friends trying to buy a house during COVID, and they were outbid by $50,000.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I saw that. I have a real estate license. I don't practice for anybody. I don't earn commission. I do it for friends, really just family. Yeah. My parents, cousins who have bought property, and I give them at closing. I put the cash back, so as a gift to them. My cousin bought a property. The commission was like 30-something thousand. It's a nice little gift I was able to give him. Moved here from California during COVID, and man, we were getting crushed. 6-figure differences. They're asking 1.1 million. He'd offer 1.2, and then I'd ask him later, why didn't we get it? Oh no, we got an offer for 1.3.
Yeah,
you were asking for 1.1. It was amazing what was happening. So the downside is we're very crowded now.
Yeah,
right. We got to tell everybody, don't come. We're full. Don't come over here.
Well, I see. The population in Florida, Texas, probably Tennessee, I think Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, they've boomed.
And Nevada. I know Nevada's Las Vegas is like.
Yeah.
I left Vegas around I think 2016, and when I went back, I saw the population jump by 15 to 20%. It seemed like
amazing. It's California people leaving and going there. I lived 20 years in California and came here. And I have a lot of friends and family asking about it, moving out of there. It's tough to live there, man.
Yeah, I lived there. I lived in San Jose.
Yeah.
I lived in Aliso Viejo and Dana Point.
Oh, okay.
And Laguna Niguel. So
yeah. So you were in northern and southern.
And Marietta. Yeah. So.
I was near San Jose. I was 30 minutes away in Hayward.
Yeah.
I lived there for 18 years. Yeah, it's tough. Some of those states you mentioned that have boomed have no state income tax. Nevada, Tennessee, Texas, Florida. It's pretty attractive for people who are making a lot of money.
But the thing is, eventually, with all the people moving here, something's got to change. And this no state income tax is good, but prices go up everywhere else. And I feel like, some of these states, Florida, if they legalize like, marijuana or sold marijuana. Nevada did that. They legalized marijuana recreationally. And I'm not saying, hey, go smoke weed. I'm just saying, like, maybe open up more casinos, because with the raising population, money has to be coming from somewhere. And I hope that I don't think it's going to change, but I see prices getting raised elsewhere.
Yeah, it's probably true. You got to pay for a lot of infrastructure, services for people. Yeah, but what has happened that I've noticed is the people coming during COVID were pretty good income earners with the liberty of working on their own from home. Yeah. I saw that in my own family, the people who came down. So those are pretty good people to draw from, because I don't think the average person or homeless person is leaving their states to come here. It's usually hardworking people who make pretty good, decent livings. Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, but everything can change over time. Muhammed Lawal, man, I appreciate you being here. Glad to get to know you, and I look forward to bringing you, we do events in my men's group, Brotherhood. We do training events, jiu-jitsu, striking training, and all of that, and I look forward to having you come train some of our guys.
Yeah, I'm down, man. I'd love to do it.
Yeah, we're going to do it. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks for having me.